Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
The Other Side of Midnight. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And now we're joined by Maria Cuccia, who has a very, very interesting, a fascinating story to tell. And a story that there's a good chance a lot of people are just simply not going to buy it. And that's okay, because there are plenty of people who just know. They know this subject. They know that there are stories out there that are told, and they are willing to listen. And that's the majority of our audience here on The Other Side of Midnight, where we, at this time of the morning across the country, have the ability to set our minds to open. We have open minds, open hearts, and we're willing to listen. And here to tell her story again is Maria Cuccia. Maria, welcome to The Other Side of Midnight.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the program.
Of course. So, listen, I'm just going to ask you to take us back to that night in 1992 and tell us exactly what happened.
Yeah, in 1992, I was a young mother. I was married, living on Long Island, and I had 3 daughters at the time. And it was just an average night. I had gone to bed, and I would say it was around 3 a.m. in the morning. I woke up and felt a strange sensation throughout my whole body. It was just this tingling, like a vibration of my body. And I rolled over onto my back and noticed what looked like white light just streaming through from coming out from the ceiling, and I was staring at this white light, and the next thing I know, the sensation throughout my body became very intense, and then I just felt this as if I was lifting at a very fast rate of speed upward, and the next thing I remember, I was standing on what appeared to be some kind of spacecraft, and there were beings around me, about 3 beings, very tall, and all I remember is that they were wearing what appeared to be, it seemed like robes, and to me they were very human-like, but I could not really see any fine features of their faces. I just remember a lot of light around them, and communication.
Let me just bring you back for a quick moment. You mentioned, Maria, that you were transported by a beam of light. You know, we've heard that before. And I've been remiss never to ask this. How did that actually feel physically? And was there an emotional component to it as well? Tell me about what it was like to be pulled up into that light.
Yes, it's just this, as if I had no control over my body. But all I can recall, and again, this is back in 1992. I knew nothing really about UFOs, abductions, or anything. So I just recall consciously just this as if electricity was just streaming through my whole body, like I was vibrating.
Were you
that's
afraid?
The only way I could describe. I was absolutely afraid.
You were afraid.
I had no idea what was happening. And it just felt so real. It wasn't a dream because it was sensation. You know, that's what I felt, the sensation throughout my body that I could not control. And yes, absolute fear. And again, so much of it is very hazy, but to this day, this moment is just implanted in my mind of what happened, because then I was told telepathically, look out the window. It just seemed like a large glass, like as if a spacecraft. It's the only way I could describe it. And I was looking out this large window, and I could see a large group of children, what appeared to be was children to me. And again, there's a bit of a distance because I was told to look. And a young boy was just like brought out from the crowd and instructed to look at me. And I looked at this boy, and for some reason there's a feeling, an emotion that this was my son. And I asked, is this my son? And the response was, yes, this is your son. And they said his name is Elijah. They told me the name. And I just remember staring. It was like we were staring at one another, and he just simply waved his hand.
Elijah, the boy waved at you.
Yes.
And so this is T.J. McCormick. We're on the other side of midnight, speaking with Maria Cuccia, telling us her story that one night back in 1992, she was, in fact, abducted. And she's telling us her story about this event. And you say you were surrounded by these tall beings. They had no distinctive faces. They were wearing robes. They told you telepathically, so they were communicating with you telepathically, to look out a glass window. And now, again, you had in your real life, you had three daughters, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. And these beings told you to look out. You saw a group of children. One of them came to the front, and I guess he became noticeable in them. And you had a moment of emotion, and you were then told that his name was Elijah. When they told you that he was your son and his name was Elijah, what went through your mind in that moment? And did the beings say anything else about why Elijah was your son, or even more specifically, how that was possible?
There was no real explanation other than me feeling as if I had a mission and that I would understand someday. But it was time. The words that I actually remember were, it's time for you to go back now. And that was, for that moment, that's all I remember. Okay, that's what was conscious for me, because then the next thing I felt was that tingling sensation again. Mm-hmm. And then I felt a rush of speed as if I was going downward. And the next thing I remember is like a slam, like something slammed my chest, and I sat up. And I was crying, I was shaking, I had no idea what had just happened. But I kept hearing the words, look up the meaning of his name, look up the meaning of Elijah. So I just remember I was just, crying, and I got up and I went to my bookshelf, and I knew I had a book of names for each pregnancy, when I was trying to figure out names for my daughters. Mm-hmm. And I looked up the meaning of Elijah, and the meaning is the Lord is my Savior.
Yes.
And I just sat on the floor and I cried, and I didn't know what happened. So that was the experience.
It's 30 minutes past the hour. This is The Other Side of Midnight.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
So it was a one-off. It was a one-off experience this time. You haven't,
yeah.
to the best of your understanding or memory, been contacted again, at least in that fashion. You haven't been visited or taken or go ahead.
After that, I was visited. There were moments, but this is the one that affected me the most. I mean, I did have other visitations.
Mm-hmm.
And
was Elijah involved? Was Elijah involved in those?
No, and that's why the reason why this experience affected me is because to this day I feel a connection to Elijah. Now, the thing that I realized afterwards, and again, there was nothing. I am talking now because there's thousands and thousands of women like me out there today. So I was in my 30s back then. I'm turning 65 next month. Wow. And I'm ready to speak and tell my story. But what I realized afterwards is that I had had a miscarriage. After my first daughter was born, roughly like 6 months later, I forget exact, but I had become pregnant again. I wanted another child.
Sure.
And I was pregnant, and I had gone to the doctor for my 3-month visit. Mm-hmm. And I went and I had the ultrasound, and we saw the fetus inside me. It was a moment of happiness. I had been through it before. I had my daughter, as I said. It was a moment of happiness. We saw the heartbeat. I heard the heartbeat. The doctor commented on the heartbeat. He said,
anyone who has a child always remembers the first heartbeat they hear. Always remember.
Thrilling. It's thrilling. And the doctor said, "Wow, that's a strong heartbeat. That you're having a boy."
So
right?
let me ask you. Oh, I'm sorry. So at that time they acknowledged. They said, "Oh, so now had you forgotten this experience? Had this? Clearly you didn't forget the experience of being told that you were pregnant."
No, because what happened was, after that visit to the doctor, I came home one day. I had excruciating pain.
Right.
And I had literally collapsed to the floor. And I had to be rushed to the hospital. And I was taken by ambulance to the hospital. And long story short, I had a miscarriage.
Sure.
Okay. And it was very upsetting. I was hysterical, crying. The doctor assured me everything was fine. I would have no problem getting pregnant again, especially in those days on Long Island. Mm-hmm. And this is the other thing. There were many miscarriages happening. And there's something about Long Island also, which we'll get into. But he sent me home. I went home. I was sad. I cried, went to bed, woke up the next morning. As I said, I had another child, and I was feeding her breakfast, and the phone rang. And the nurse said to me, she said, Maria, the doctor wants you to get down to radiology immediately. I said, why? What's wrong? I said, I'm fine. And she said, no, there's something wrong. He wants to check you. So basically, I was told I expelled the fetal sac, and there was no fetus inside of it. So I went through all this, all the sonogram, internal, external. 2 doctors were examining me, nurses. They feared maybe an ectopic pregnancy because the fact that there was proof with the heartbeat from the ultrasound the day before. So, and the sac expelled, but there was no fetus.
So you'll forgive me, but just for the sake of time and clarity, I just want to make sure that we, so you had a miscarriage, but there was no accounting for the baby, I guess what I'm hearing here in terms of the timeline is, at some point after you had this experience where you had been taken up and you met Elijah, you sort of then went back in your own mind and you connected the dots, for lack of a better term.
Exactly.
And you realized this was your child. Something I didn't ask you, and I don't know if you mentioned, what did Elijah look like?
To me, again, it's very vague. I don't have, there's no clarity. But to me, he looked basically like what we now know is we would call a hybrid. Okay? At the time, he looked like an 8-year-old boy, maybe with a large, a seemingly larger head than average, and very long arms. I remember very long, thin arms. That's all I remember.
So when you say a hybrid, you mean that he had some of the characteristics of one of the people that had taken you to wherever they had taken you.
I say it now because of all the research I've done, and I at the time, I'm describing what I saw. To me, he was a boy with a larger than average head and long, thin arms.
Now, when you finally started telling people about this, I'm sure at some point you did. What was the reaction from your friends, your family?
They thought I was crazy.
How old were your daughters? How old was your youngest daughter when you started telling people this?
At the time, she was,
give or take,
she was 4 years old.
Okay,
and so all my daughters are roughly 2.5 years apart.
All right, so you had a 6 and 8. So you had like an almost 10-year-old. And so you started. So you figured, you'd tell people, and so I'm sorry. So they thought that you were batty. They thought that you were experiencing some sort of.
Well, especially delusion. I'm divorced now, but my husband at the time, he didn't. He just said, "What are you talking about? That was a dream. That was a dream."
Did you ever doubt it? Did you ever doubt it?
Oh yes, of course. And I wanted help because it wasn't a dream. It was real, and it affected me. I had this connection with this boy. It was so real that I felt determined to find him. And I have to be honest, I still feel that. This is why I just, now years later, because I live a normal life. I am a very grounded woman, but then I started my search. But when I agreed to go to a psychiatrist, because my husband really wanted me to see a psychiatrist, of course, the first thing he said is, I was delusional and psychotic, and I needed some drugs. And I refused.
So I understand that, and by the way, we're here on the other side of midnight. T.J. McCormick talking to Maria Cuccia about her experience. She says that there was a moment in her life back in 1992 when she was suddenly taken from her home and found herself, after a trip in a beam of light, found herself in a space with people, and was shown a boy that she eventually came to believe was possibly her son. And she was told by these people his name was Elijah. So let me just ask you this. So you eventually, I think you from what I understand, you found yourself meditating. You found yourself listening to music. This is how you ended up healing. And can you describe? Well, first of all, what kind? I read that the music that you created to help you come through all of this was inspired by Elijah. Do you consider that a form of communication between you and what you believe to be who you believe to be your son?
Yes, because it's emotional. It's communication, not so much through words or explanations or understanding. Emotion. I felt emotion, and I felt. Yes, I just, at the time I was a piano teacher. I was classically trained. I had a piano, but I was hearing sound after that. And as you said, I sought help, but no one believed me. Mm-hmm. So I turned inward. I turned towards prayer, meditation, and I started hearing sound. So I bought a synthesizer at the time, and this music. And again, today we have a lot of healing music and meditation music, but back then I was one of the pioneers. I was one of the first. I started creating music for healing, and all my music was inspired by Elijah. I put it on my album covers and whatnot.
So tell me this, Maria. So tell me this. I'm sorry. Do you now, just to stick with the experience for one more moment, do you find yourself, see, if that was me, I think, I don't know if I'd ever relax. I don't know if I'd ever come completely down from that initial abduction experience. Do you, or did you for a while, or do you continue to just wait for the other shoe to drop again? Do you wait for that beam of light again? Do you long for that beam of light? Do you wish to? Have you seen Elijah again? So there's a couple of questions. Is this something, does that experience ever leave you? Do you always sort of walk in or live in the shadow of that experience or the aftermath? And also a follow-up question here too is, have you seen Elijah physically like you did that night? Have you seen him since?
No, I have not seen him since, but I have absolutely been affected. Okay. Once again, I am a grounded woman. So I basically kept a journal for all these years. And during COVID is when I said, okay, it's time for me to look at all my notes, because I did have other experiences. I would wake up and there were figures. I know we're pressed for time, but I compiled all of that in my book, basically because I do feel like I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying because there's other women. There's so many women, and there's men, because throughout the years, I did speak a little back in the day, back in the 90s, because when I created the music, I spoke. I spoke about the inspiration behind the music. So on my website, you will see something. I was on a program, in fact, it was called The Other Side with Dr. Will Miller back in the 90s. And I was invited to share my experience with his studio audience on television, and I have clips of it on the website. And I was so grateful for that, because that is when I was put on a platform with other people who had similar experiences. Maybe
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
5 immersive worlds, 1 amazing theme park. Get ready to explore the all-new Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Epic Universe opens May 22nd at Universal Orlando Resort. Our universe will never be the same. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel or that white chocolate mocha. Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Be not exactly the same, but that's when I realized there's something going on.
And what is it that you think? What is it that you think is going on? Do you think? Let me bring you into the realm of somebody who has had an experience, the kind of experience that so many people are curious about. We hear about it so often on shows like this, on the other side of midnight. What do you think is the purpose of all of this? And what do you think, I'll ask you a large general question. What is, as somebody in a unique position like yourself, having experienced this, what is going on out there? If it just to throw a large question at you, and you can answer in generalities, that's fine. You don't have to know the details. But I'm going to sound like a Jerry Seinfeld impersonation. Who are these people? Who are these people? What are we talking about here, Maria?
I love that you're saying this. I love that you have this show, and I appreciate this so much because I'm tired of being quiet. I am tired of being afraid of what people are going to say once I tell my story. But listen, at my age now, I don't care. I'm not looking for validation. Mm-hmm. I know what happened to me, and I know I'm not alone. So if I could be a voice that helps others share their voices, let's all collectively say, hey, let's all ask this
and
question.
Here's your chance. So again, I'm going to ask you again, because I'm dying to know what you think it might be. What exactly is going on? Where are these people from? Did you get any indication, or do you have a gut feeling? You've done research. You've spoken to other people who've had these abduction experiences. Are these the same people that we've heard, or the same beings that we've heard about abducting other people? Do they operate on their own? Do you have any indication where they're from, what their ultimate purpose is? What is your story, your unique story? What's it part of? What's the grander picture here?
I struggle with really, there's many theories out there, and some people believe they know. Okay, mm-hmm. You'll hear other researchers talking about different planets, different types of beings, and this and that.
Sure.
I look, because I will, as I said, now I'm a researcher. Mm-hmm. I will research, but nothing so far has made me say, oh, that's it. Okay, I have not come to any conclusion. I have questioned whether they are beings from another planet or human beings on this earth. We have virtual reality now. There's different capabilities. Maybe we're being maybe there's something or somebody or this power, this group that wants us to believe these are beings from another planet, but they're really just based here on our planet.
Let me ask you this, Maria. Yeah. Again, we're talking to Maria Cuccia here on The Other Side of Midnight. And this is probably, of all of these questions, this is maybe the most personal one. So please understand, I ask it with respect. You mentioned that you're divorced. You're 3 daughters. I have 2 daughters, so I understand the dynamic of young women and the relationship that we have with our children, especially young women. There's for a mom, there's a unique relationship there. And if it's none of my business, none of my business. But do your daughters believe you?
Oh, my daughters are the one who are encouraging me to speak. My daughters are the ones who have encouraged me to write this book.
Wow.
My daughters are the ones who had experiences when they were young, not just witnessing their mother struggling with this, but as little girls just coming in, Mommy, you know, I
while you were dealing with it.
And they're the ones who confirmed that I wasn't insane, because how could they have their own individual experiences?
Do they believe that they have a brother out there? Have they come to complete acceptance of that part of your story?
Yes, because they even feel communication themselves with him. It's something. Honestly, I feel this has been an experiment. I feel like, again, when I speak, it's not only just about me.
Right.
I want to be a voice for those who are afraid to speak up.
Sure.
And there's some sort of experiment going on. So there's different levels. There's one of genetics, and the other is just observing behavior and human emotion.
I just want to say that I'm grateful for you coming here to tell your story, and I think it's going to beg more questions, and hopefully it will encourage more people to come out and tell their stories. And boy, I tell you what, you have definitely that book's going to be something else. It's going to be something to behold. So Maria Cuccia, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again down the road, and in the meantime, don't be a stranger. And once again, thanks for joining us here on The Other Side of Midnight.
Thanks for listening to The Other Side of Midnight. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?